Welcome to the NASCAR Live Chat with Hamm, the Engine Man. When will the NASCAR 2020 season start back? That is the question.
We are being censored.
Uh-oh.
America's
Sorry, I gotta turn. Always come on by themselves. It's like they're possessed. I think they're all made in China, by the way, in case y'all didn't know that. Somebody was saying the other day, we need to quit using China products or products made in China. And then somebody says, as you type this from your cell phone, made in China. So it is what it is. But hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're just going to have a little bit of fun today. I got some of the notes and things just to kind of keep up with so I don't get anything wrong. Some of the things that happened today, actually, that'll answer that question. What is NASCAR going to do for 2020? When will they go racing again? Or, what's going on with NASCAR? And we're going to find out because I kind of have ESPN, if you didn't know that about me. I'm pretty good about sensing what's going on and what's going to happen. I think it's because I've been around NASCAR for so long. Let's see, since far back as I can remember, was being about 6 years old and arguing with other kids on the school bus about my favorite driver, David Pearson, back in the 70s. And then after that, it was Cale Yarborough. I wasn't a big Richard Petty fan. I love the man now, but back then he was winning everything all the time. So I was like, you know what? I need to go with a driver that's not winning all the time. But speaking of winning, yesterday was Robert Yates' birthday. Also, so happy birthday. He would have been 77. His brother, Richard Yates, also 77. And then Jack Roush, who was turned 78 years old yesterday. So that was all of my former bosses right there in one, at least for the past 16 years. Back whenever I was building engines for Chevrolet and a jackman for Chevrolet and Pontiac, I never thought I was going to go to Ford. I always thought, Fords are a different animal. I'm not really sure about that. That wasn't the big thing. The big thing was I knew that they really worked a lot more hours. I worked a lot of hours back in the day, but I knew that they worked even more. And that was the rumors you'd always hear about Robert Yates Racing working so many hours. All right, what's up, Steve Baker up in Virginia? Rachel Rodman down in Charlotte. Rachel, how are things in Charlotte? I haven't been down there in so long, but I know it's normally a busy town because that's basically where I grew up, right outside of Charlotte. And I went to college down at Central Piedmont, and I know how things are. Well, I've never seen it through a time like this before. The worst thing we went through down there was I lived in South Charlotte during Hurricane Hugo, but I was working even further South Charlotte down off of Westinghouse Boulevard. So Steve says, where's my trophy? Y'all must have a good conversation going here. I haven't seen all of it yet. I was trying to do some last minute things to get my chair in place and all that kind of stuff. But as you can see back here, I got the lights turned off. I got one on me right here so that y'all can see me. Hopefully you can see me clearly. And the biggest thing about having that light is so that the camera doesn't want to go in and out, which it's kind of doing right now. Maybe if I put my hand down, it won't do that. All right. I'll keep my hands down. So what's up, River Rat? I know you are yakking today, or kayaking, that is. Tracy Hamm, thanks for tuning in. Or is it Tracy Thompson? Rachel Rodman down in Charlotte. I mentioned you already. Chad Hyder up in Ohio. I keep wanting to say Virginia for you too, Chad. Chad come down and was hanging out here in the shop with me and Tom Robinson and Hut Strickland and friends. We had us a big old party going on it was Tracy's birthday, Hut Strickland's birthday, and Tom's 50th birthday. That was last year. So we were talking about doing that again this year, but I believe Tracy and I are going to go down to Florida for her birthday this year, which is going to be very nice. I'm looking forward to that. So River Rat says, howdy, howdy, Steve and Terry. Let's see. Tracy says, you got it, Steve. So y'all got some conversation thing going on here. All right, so we're going to roll into some. All right, what's up, Linda? Linda Jinks. If I stream this to my TV, I won't be able to talk. So just wanted to let everybody know, hi, and I'm here. So Linda, can you, okay, I see what you're saying. You stream it to your TV. You can get on your laptop or something else and kind of comment back and forth with us. And then whatever your streaming device is can be streaming. Just an idea. And maybe work on that for next time. Terry says, we're expecting some storms here. Hope it waits until after chat. And she sent me something today saying that this is going to be a big hurricane season this year, which I don't know how they know that, but they always know the El Nino and La Nina and all that kind of stuff. So they're typically right. When they say we're going to get a lot of snow, we get a lot of snow. But I can tell you this year we got nothing. We didn't even hardly get any cold weather. So I can imagine this is going to be a weird summertime. And all. What's up, Liz Petrie? I see you might have created your own account. Thank you very much. That's nice. Good to see you on here. Where's your friend Dawn? What's up, Brad Downard and Darla Robinson up in Indiana. That would be in the Robinson Equipment Paint. Rachel says it was great to meet Ryan Blaney fan. Great to meet a Ryan Blaney fan. Steve Baker. All right. Lizzie Bang. Hello, everyone. What's up, Chad? Okay, so I'm going to roll into some of our, as you know, we're not racing right now. NASCAR is not racing, I should say, because, I retired from NASCAR. It's been a year ago now. It was May the 31st was my last day working for a NASCAR race team after 25 years. So it's actually been a really nice time. I've been enjoying retirement, but people always tell me you're going to be busier than ever once you retire. I'm like, how is that possible? But it kind of is. I can see it now. But that's okay because I'm doing it on my time. All right. So I'm enjoying it. Let's see. When will NASCAR return? We're going to answer that question here in just a little bit. I'm going to do a couple of Q&As. And anytime y'all have a question, you can throw them at me. But I'm going to ask you some questions and get your input on some stuff. And then we're going to do a cold beer, warm beer. And I'm going to do a little history. I'm going to do a little history, I say, because what I would like to do is do another video and put it on YouTube so that you can go on and see some of the NASCAR history, because I'm kind of a big deal. I'm just kidding. When it comes to, I love my NASCAR history, and I know a lot about history in general. So I'd like to do some NASCAR history videos and put them here on YouTube. I was actually working on one this morning of Dickie Dennis, AKA River Rat, who is the crazy guy that climbed the fence in Richmond in 2014. So I went looking on YouTube, and I figured out there's a lot of videos of him on there. So I basically downloaded all these videos, and I'm going to put one together as I was interviewing him on the phone a few weeks ago. And I'm going to put it together, and I think y'all are going to really enjoy that. So it should be pretty funny. But it seems to be that he's a big hero for other NASCAR fans, because even in the videos, people were like cheering for him when he come down, just kind of like he's the hero. So I thought that was pretty cool. Tom says, my question is, what do you all think about Kyle Larson being fired for his comment? So I'm going to hit on that just a little bit, but y'all feel free to answer that question right in here. Rachel says, what's up? What's with the Pro Invitational? Drivers are hitting the wall with Bubba losing his sponsorship, Larson getting fired for using a word, and Matt DiBenedetto getting in trouble with a giraffe onesie. You know what? I kind of think it's that whole thing I used to say that my grandparents used to say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. What do y'all think about that? Maybe these NASCAR drivers are so used to being adrenaline junkies and always doing stuff, always being gone, being around people, and now they just can't handle being fenced up in their own house. Because you think about it, they're traveling all the time. And I kind of didn't go through, I went through a lot of that because I was traveling with the Busch Series and the Cup Series, and I did that for 7 years. But whenever I got off the road, I had to find other things to feel that, that adrenaline rush kind of thing. So I was playing softball, I was racing go-karts, just doing all those kinds of things. Yep, that's it. So I have a question for you. Which tracks would you like to see open back up the most? Okay, whether that is, we got Charlotte coming up in May, and I'm saying open back up, meaning you could do this different ways. One being Wilkesboro, let's say some of the old tracks that are closed now, and the other one being which track are you looking the most forward to going back to once it opens. So how about that? Chad Hatter says, I raced online today just to get a small fix. And as I mentioned before, I actually used to race online too. And that is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that. Now you can just play, you could do the PlayStation 4 and you can get on there and race. But the problem is I would like to do that, but I'm scared that I'm going to get hooked on it. And then I'm not going to get anything else done. Invest in that. I've got a PlayStation 3. What do I have? PlayStation 3. I don't have a 4 yet, but I do have some racing games, and I could go in there right now and sit down and play those games. But I don't want to be playing video games for the rest of my little bit of time off that I have. I say little bit in quotations. So Rachel says North Wilkesboro for sure. Yes, absolutely. And I love Darlington. Yes, that one too. Wilkesboro and Rockingham. Yes, Brad. Definitely Rockingham. But I would say Wilkesboro is just like 45 minutes up the road, and that would be really nice. I think that would be a track that our NASCAR teams could go and race on a Wednesday night and really not miss a lot. Like they could go race there. The fans could come in from all around and get in and out, get back to the shops, get their work done, and then go racing by the weekend. So everything would be just fine there. Rockingham or even Nazareth, Chad says. Nazareth was one. And I saw a video somebody put on about Nazareth being closed. And I did not realize that. I haven't been there in almost 20 years. I haven't been to Nazareth. And I went there in the Busch Series because, as far as I know, we didn't race there in the Cup Series unless they did back before my time. So I think I was reading what Terry says. I think, too, maybe they thought it was going to be in fun, no rules, but found out different. Yeah, that's true, because the big money sponsors come in to the iRacing, and of course that changes everything when you get the big money in there. So yeah, Terry says I'd love to see Kyle at SHR, Stuart Haas Racing. That is most likely, that is the rumor, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Yes, so let's see. So Richmond was supposed to be this weekend. So if you notice the picture, the thumbnail picture of me right there, me pushing down the jack was at Richmond. And I'm going to tell you, the cars on the left side were really heavy. Richmond, Bristol, those tracks like that, you always want to have, there's a weight limit. The cars have to weigh a certain amount on the right side, left side, and then they have to be a total weight amount. But the way the springs are, the shocks, when I come around the left side at Bristol and I'm jacking that car, it is way heavier than Daytona or Talladega. So I can jack up the car on the right side, one pump, the car's up, Daytona, Talladega. But at the shorter tracks, we always had to set the chains really long, especially on the left side, because whenever they come around the corners and the left rear wants to come up, you don't want to pull that left rear tire off the track. So we had to set them long. So I come around the car and I'm jacking it up. And I found a video today. I was just looking at 1997 Richmond race, and I'm trying to remember why I was even looking at it, but I was scrolling through on YouTube watching the race, and I saw myself in a pit stop. So I was like, hey, I need to cut this out of there. So I downloaded it and cut that clip out and put it on my Facebook page. And while I'm at it, whenever we get done with this video, y'all go on and give some love to one of my Tay. I put a video on of him singing and playing at the Thumb Pickers down in Statesville, North Carolina. And his mom made a post today on Facebook that said something about some haters, probably some other little kids giving him a hard time, because that little kid is amazing. He gets up there, he's 9 now, but he was 8 years old when I did this video. And he gets up there with his guitar and plays, and he's looking over at Clay Lunsford and then looking back over at David and Johnson, and he's like telling them when it's their turn to play at 8 years old. So good. So anyway, I put a video on last week of him playing and singing, playing his guitar. So what's up, Scott Felthausen? So anyway, when this video is over, if you go on there and show him some love and tell him how good he is. Nashville Fairgrounds always puts on a good show. Yes. I went to Nashville a few times in the Busch Series with Sterling Marlin and with Joe Nemechek, and they both won there. They both run really good there too. So yeah, Nashville's one that I didn't think about. So good call on that one, Scott. See, Steve Baker says, my opinion, some of this racing chatter is overrated. I understand the Larson thing, but still a little over the top. I agree. I don't think it was meant to be offensive. And I totally agree with that, Steve Baker, because, that's my opinion of it. I was kind of going to stay away from it, but, I just don't think that – I think it was mostly that he I think it – all right, so that word is – people use that word a lot. I mean, teenagers they just throw it out there, and I don't think it's meant as to be racially motivated. I think it's just meaning it's just like calling somebody brother, whatever, calling them, what's up, pal, in a way. I think it's just meant to be kind of a funny thing, joke. Because I hear it all the time. I don't say it, but I just whatever. But he's in a position where he shouldn't. He should know better, especially, as much money as he's making. He's got sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So he should really work on filtering that. What's up, Scott Trevison down in Florida? Been out on your boat? I sent you a couple of, well, you saw these yesterday, the little, I don't even know what you call them, jib jabs of Scott out on his boat. Pretty funny stuff. So Tom Robinson, shoot, I forgot, IRP. That's a good one. IRP, Any Raceway Park, was one that we used to go to in the Busch Series, and that was the one where you had to park the trucks and haul the pit box into the track. So that was an interesting track to go to. IRP. Beerman's joined us, so he can weigh in on that. What's up, Scott? Tom says, I never got to go to the Nashville track. Hopefully they will bring it back soon. So while I was talking about Richmond raced, would have been this weekend, and that's where my thumbnail's from, the 1997 Richmond race. The past winners, the Ford winners, I went back to 1990. And so me, as building engines at Roush Yates, we weren't the best at Richmond, kind of like Martinsville. We struggled some on the short tracks, but later on, we started coming on to the short tracks, especially when we added Penske into the group. So the past Richmond winners, 1990, Martin won it. And these are all Fords. 92, Bill Elliott, Davey Allison in 93, Ernie Irvin, 94, 95, Rusty Wallace. So this is when I started going to the racetrack. 96, Ernie Irvin, 97, Rusty. Dale Jarrett, 97, also. Dale Jarrett, that was the race that, from my thumbnail, he actually won. Dale Jarrett won that race. 98 was Jeff Burton. 99 was Dale Jarrett. The same year he won the championship, the Cup Series. 2001, Ricky Rudd, which Ricky Rudd was on a roll in them short tracks and the road courses. 2002 was Matt Kenseth. And then in 2000, with Roush Yates engines, in 2005, Kurt Busch, which is the year after we won the championship with Kurt Busch. 2013, Carl Edwards. 2014, Joey Logano. 15, Brad Keselowski, and 2017, Joey Logano. So that some of my, I'm going to see what you're finding. Scott says he's headed offshore tomorrow. Seas are supposed to be 1.5 feet. So that's pretty calm, I guess. You're down there. If you're inside the Keys, then I guess, what are the Keys, the seas inside the Keys there, Scott? That's something I've never done. I've never been out on the water. So hopefully when we come down there in about a month or so, we will go out on the water. So Willie Lanier was at the track one time when I was at Richmond. I'm trying to think of some memories from there. He was one of the great football players. But one of the best memories I have is Ricky Skaggs playing right behind my pit stall. So he was back there hanging out and playing. And I'm just loving this, and I'm waving at him. Hey, what's up, man? Don't you know me? Okay, maybe not. But, yeah, it was a good time. I'd like to see him again and remind him of that. It's been 20 years ago. So some of the NASCAR news, what's going on in NASCAR. Scott Trevison says, did you hear John Roberts on Sirius NASCAR Radio was talking about one of his favorite memories was some dude sitting on a fence. Oh, no. How about that? So the video I'm talking about putting together, I actually got the reaction of the announcers. And I'll tell you what, Alan Bestwick sounded like he was not happy at all about that. Okay, some in the news, NASCAR news, Flossie Johnson, ex-wife of the late Junior Johnson, passed away at the age of 90 years old on April the 9th. Flossie was often referred to as the First Lady of. I never got the opportunity to meet Flossie. So if any of you have on here, tell me about it. I went to Wendy's today. Dale Jr. and his wife Amy made a gender reveal video, and upon opening a box containing a baby-sized pair of pink Converse sneakers, learned they are having another daughter. So 2 girls. I wonder what the chances of one of those girls being a race car driver is, like Dale Jr.'s sister Kelly. So the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, okay, gotcha. The Gulf of Mexico is where Scott's going to go. The Keys are a long way from Daytona. Yes, they are. I know. I guess I didn't think about that. I was thinking about, see, that's what I'm saying. I've been to Daytona. I've been to Key Largo. I've been to the Keys, but Scott, I don't even know where you're at half the time. I know you're in the Daytona area, but as far as I know, you might be taking off down to the Bahamas because you've been known to do that. Yeah, Scott Trevison says at Richmond River Rat. That's a funny deal. That's something you can. I don't know if I should say be proud of, but it's definitely something that. How many people have done that? I mean, I know there was a guy that did it at Dover. I think he was just copying you though. So, Scott says I'm in the Atlantic Ocean. All right. Tom says, David, we are going to Daytona next year. Yes, we need to do that. Let's go down to the Daytona 500 because you know what? I bet that race is going to be packed. I bet you every race, if they get fans back in the stands this year, I bet they're going to be packed. All right, so the next gen car is expected to result in the bigger organizations shedding dozens, if not hundreds of jobs because they will need substantially fewer fabricators, chassis builders, etc. Which now I believe that next gen car has been put off to 2020. I don't know if they're going to put it off another year. Am I right on that? I thought I heard that they were going to put it off another year instead of 2021, just because they haven't been able to do the testing and all that kind of stuff. So NASCAR is looking at running without the fans for around 4 to 5 weeks and will start where it can be based on a state local guidelines per sources. And some of that news came out today about a couple of tracks saying that they were going to, okay, not the tracks, but the governor and the mayor, one being in Texas. And let's see, NASCAR is to meet with state representatives in North Carolina next week in an effort to talk about reopening race shops and resuming the race season, getting shop members deemed essential soon so they can return to the work, prep cars. So hopefully that'll happen because Charlotte week is coming up really quick. So let me ask you a question. Does it bother any of y'all to watch racing on TV and not have the fans in the stands? Because I'm kind of mixed on that. I think that it would be okay. I mean, of course we can't go to the track, but you know, we're staying safe and we can watch it from the safety of our homes. And with no other sports going on right now, look how big that would be for NASCAR. I mean, look at the 1979 Daytona 500 and how there was a big snowstorm up in the Northeast. And, you know, it caused a lot of people to be sitting at home watching TV, watching the race. And then NASCAR exploded from 1979 through the 80s and then through the 90s. And we're trying to get it back now. So maybe this will just actually make it stronger. Scott says Homestead is ready. So yes, Homestead was the other one. The mayor said that he was here. I'll read that in just a second. Let me get back to my page here. He said, let's see. As of right now, the next scheduled race is Charlotte, as I mentioned, May 22nd through the 24th. Texas is coming up. Homestead gets the green flag from their mayor. He was he said that the Homestead Miami Speedway was an anchor of recovery from Hurricane Andrew in 1992, and that track opened up in 1995. And talking about Texas, the governor mentioned going back racing with the possibility without fans, but showing strong TV, as I mentioned, kind of like the 1979 Daytona 500. But does it bother you to not have the fans in the stands? But yeah, I think it would be good for NASCAR. Let them race. Brad says, let them race. TV coverage is really good today. Yes, it is. It's almost like you're there. And they get down there to the fence and they turn it up. And Tom says they haven't had fans in the stands for several years now, to be honest. Yeah, well, that's true too. So, really, what's it going to hurt? And it might actually do them some good, like I mentioned, more people watching it, give them more exposure. So, yeah, I'd say get on with it as soon as you can. River Rat says, and Steve agrees with it, I think it would be good for NASCAR. And River Rat says, I honestly believe that it will be commercialized all to pieces. As it will, yes. It's already bad enough that we have it broken up into stages now. Tracy says, Scott, it's good to know they have testing sites available without having to go into doctor's offices with other people that may be sick too. And Rachel says, I think that racing should depend on the fans being there. The fans are an essential part of racing. Okay. Fair enough. But here's the deal. If you have an option of having a race or not having a race, would you rather not have a race? Or would you rather have the race and not have fans in the stands? So Scott says, I say it's about time NASCAR helps the teams. I'm not for NASCAR welfare. We heard this. Yeah. We all heard the saying, no fans, no racing. It can also be true. No race teams, no NASCAR. Yeah, that's for sure. Because it's a pretty sad thing that's going on right now with the team. So, as you know, probably a lot of the teams right now, or as you probably know, I should say, they're either being laid off or they're basically furloughed. And some of my friends I know have been told, take your vacation time and you're going to take all of your off time that you would have had, meaning typically in NASCAR, a lot of times you get a paid week for Christmas, you get a paid week for Thanksgiving, or at least a couple of days. Let's see, you get like 4th of July, you get Labor Day, you get all these days. And right now they're taking all those days to get through this. And then when they go back to work, they're going to be working 7 days a week. And that's just the way it is right now. This is something that we haven't seen before. And and if this drags on out another month, they're just not going to be able to do that because they're already down to the 2 weeks has passed. They may have a few more days, another week left. But I'd say after the next, if it goes 2 weeks further from now, people are just going to lose their jobs. And it's going to hurt the economy. So Terry says, I'd rather have the race. Yes. And then Chad says race. And Chad says you can still score as they run without stopping. Yep. Scott says it's I'd say, yeah, that's the same one I just read. Paul says it will hurt the local economies because the fans spend lots of money at the racing weekends. Absolutely, they do. And it's already been hurting the economies of the tracks that we haven't raced at. Steve Becker says, yeah, because you're going to extend the racing season to next year, LOL, racing in the West and the South. Paul says most tracks send you a bill a year in advance in 2021 for 2021. When is actually Dega? In October, typically it is. So the drivers nominated to go into the 2021 induction, for the NASCAR Hall of Fame are as follows. The modern era ballot is Neil Bonnet, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Harry Gant, and let me know what y'all think about these modern era ballots. Larry Phillips, Ricky Rudd, Kirk Shelmerdine, and Mike Stefanik. Pioneer ballot is Jake Elder, Red Farmer, Banjo Matthews, Herschel McGriff, and Ralph Moody. And the Landmark Award is Janet Guthrie, Alvy Hawkins, Mike Helton, Joseph Matoli, and Ralph Seagraves. All right, so what do y'all think about those? I'm looking at the modern era ballot, and I'm seeing Neil Bonnet, definitely. I'm seeing Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Harry Gant, definitely. Harry Hyde, definitely. Larry Phillips, Ricky Rudd, definitely. How many do I get to choose from? Kirk Shelmerdine and Mike Stefanik. All right, those are my choices. Those 4 that I just read off. Because that's just the way it is. They're the older ones. They're the legends to me. All right. Scott says, Scott Felthausen, the hotel I stayed at in Atlanta said he was out $25,000 because the race was canceled. Wow. I wonder if that's a inflated price, like he usually goes up on his price. Because I know a lot of the hotels would do that when they knew race season was coming back to town. They would increase their price. Rachel says that is so sad about the teams. It's true. I agree now. Get the cars on the track, even if it's just for fans online. So, yes, when the teams don't have anything to work on, they don't have any reason to be at the shop. And I say they at least can let the car, okay, you have the engine rule that says you have to run so many short blocks, you have to run so many times. So why not let the fans go back? Why not let the teams go back into the engine shop and start taking some of these engines apart and refresh them to get them ready to go back to the track? Because right now, at this point, they've been sitting a long time. Forget the rule, the engine rule that we've had in place for the past couple of years now. Forget that rule. Throw it out. Rebuild the engines, give them something to do, and then we can put them back in. And then you send them to the race shops, gives them guys something to do, put the engines in the car. Man, sometimes these rules just get to be too much. Steve says it was supposed to be at the end of this month. No timeline for the race at Dega. Chad, look, I like Junior, but he's only mentioned because he's an Earnhardt. I totally agree. It's an emotional vote, but that measure every Daytona 500 winner should be in. Okay, fair enough. But that would mean, let's see, there's a lot of drivers that have won the Daytona 500, and that's the only race they've ever won. Trevor Bayne. So I don't know. Should Trevor Bayne be inducted? Just a thought. Scott says this will be over and by the end of May. I can't imagine 2 more weeks. Yeah, I can't imagine it either. I'd love to see Red Farmer, Ralph Moody, Mike Helton. Terry Quinn says, Tom, I think they should all already be in it with the exception of Carl. Don't agree with that. Yeah. I don't get Carl either. I'm not really sure how that's. Yeah. I think they should have some other older guys race on iRacing. Yeah. There you go, Steve. Scott says Larry Phillips better not get robbed this year. Mike Stefanik was my other pick from modern era nominees. Okay. Fair enough. And Tracy says, naturally, I am a Harry Gant biased. Yes, because your dad worked for Harry Gant for, I don't know how many years he worked there, but he was at Hendricks. He was with Hamm and Moody from 1963 to 1971, as well as Tracy's grandfather worked at Hamm and Moody back in those legendary days. Scott says, our sport is made for TV. Excuse me, more than any other sport. We watch practice every week with no fans in the stands. That's right. Imagine watching a stick and a ball sport practice without fans in the stands. Think about it. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I used to listen to qualifying on the radio religiously, and I loved it. I had no idea there probably wasn't hardly any fans in the stands. But, if you love racing enough, you can listen to it without fans in the stands. The only thing that hurts not having them in the stands, obviously, is you don't have the travel expenses. You don't have the hotel bills. So the hotels aren't making money, and they're not selling beer at the racetrack and food and things like that. Not as much chicken wings being sold. Chicken. Yep. Mike says, I like Mike Stefanik and Harry Gant. Chad says, I'd like Gant, Phillips, Rudd, and Bonnet. Yeah. I definitely think Bonnet for sure he probably was one of those that should have already been in. Terry says, I think the early historic racers should be in the hall first. It's sad so many have been left out. Yes, I totally agree with that. They're the ones that paved the way for all the future drivers and for the drivers that are in NASCAR right now. So they are the legends. They're the ones that should be in the Hall of Fame. So if y'all would let me know what you would like to learn about some of the history in the future chats, because we're going to talk a little bit about history, but like I mentioned before, I'm going to do some videos, and I'm going to put some history in, probably some racing clips. I love going back and watching the old NASCAR races, not just from the 90s, but I mean, I'm talking 70s, 60s, the ones that are on YouTube. I love watching the ones in the 70s. That's probably my most favorite time to watch those big cars driving around and those crazy drivers back then in their bench seats. But they did it. Congratulations to Bruton Smith, who is inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Something Joey Logano has been doing for a while now. Between March 31st and April the 7th, the Joey Logano Foundation has provided 100,000 meals to Feeding America, along with Meals Up, 800 meals to children of first responders. Very cool. 550 backpacks filled with school supplies, and 50 families received housing supplies. Good stuff right there. So River Rat says, I heard little about Chip Ganassi Racing and what's next for the team. Sponsors went by, but also what's your input? So I think that typically sponsors, if they feel like they have a good driver coming on board, or they have a lot of times nowadays, the drivers bring their own sponsors. And I hate to say it, but a lot of times it's because it's their daddy's money, those kinds of things. So Tom says, be careful, David. May hurt some of the new team guys' feelings like I did. LOL. Yeah. So there's guys out there that are haven't been in NASCAR very long. So they tend to be a little more sensitive to not realizing that, for one, they're not respecting the guys that paved the way, just kind of like I said about the drivers. But they think that because their pit stops are faster now, that they should get more respect and that kind of stuff. But you know what? It's a different era. Those guys, no disrespect to any current team members in NASCAR, but they do not work as many hours as we used to have. I say we, but even before me, the guys had to put in more hours, and it's kind of dwindled down over the years. But up until, I guess, probably 10 years ago, whenever this whole thing came out, NASCAR crew member lost his job. I can't remember where it was. Childress, maybe. And then he got upset and went to the labor board and said, I've never been paid overtime. And then they come around and they started taking it. How many hours do y'all work a week? They actually came into our shop and asked us that question. So from then on, they were like, okay, you're going to work 40 hours. If you work overtime, you're going to get paid overtime. But we want to get you out of here in 40 hours. And that was a change in the era. That was about 10 years ago. So, anyway, I don't want to get started talking about all that. But Steve Baker says, I want to hear more about the cheaters, LOL. They were pretty slick back then. There's a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff myself, but back in the 60s and 70s, I would say they were doing a whole lot more cheating than I've ever seen. But you can read like Smokey Unick's book and some of this stuff. Look up videos about Smokey Unick, and you can hear a lot of the things that he did. He kind of paved the way in a lot of that. But also, there was Gary Nelson when he was with the he was at Sapco, but he ended up being Robin Pemberton. Those guys got jobs with NASCAR because I think they pretty much knew how to cheat. Just saying. Mike Bear says, me too. I've been watching a lot of them on YouTube. Watched some last 60s at Darlington the other day. Yeah, I like playing those, and I'll sit out here in my shop and I'll put them on my TV for my dad to watch because, he was there in I think it was 1964. Whenever Fireball Roberts had his big wreck at Charlotte, and my dad was there. So I like playing those old races like that so that it kind of jog his memory. He's got a little bit of Alzheimer's right now. But he remembers that stuff. So it's pretty cool whenever we can sit down and watch the old races, just like we sit down and listen to some old country music. Scott says the TV deal is $8.2 billion deal. That helps the business. And you know what? One of the TV deals used to, I don't know how it works now, but you had to have fans in the stands because when those TV cameras go around and they see empty seats, they don't want to do that. And you also had to have the cars on the track, which isn't really a big issue nowadays. So yeah, Chad says those big ugly cars with the huge steering wheels riding way up off the track. Yeah, they had some big old steering wheels in those cars back then. And I actually seen, we had the Wood Brothers. They brought in one of their old 21 cars from back in the day. I believe maybe it was Tiny Lund or somebody. I can't remember. Anyway, they had a car that had a trap door that you would lift the trap door up, and then you could see how the tires were wearing. And one of them, I need to find this. Was it one of the Flock brothers had a monkey? I've heard this story many times, but it escapes me right now. But that was they had a monkey in the car with them that rode in with them. I don't remember what his job was. Maybe it was his job to tell him what the tires were wearing like. I'm not making this up. It's a true story. I need Tom Robinson says, Scott is 100% correct. TV is where the money is. And right now, that's only opinion they got. So let's get it going. Yes. The single lug is going to be crazy, Steve Baker says. Tracy says, Steve Baker, was it really cheating in the beginning or was it being creative? I'll agree with that too, because I used to have this. Well, I probably still have it somewhere. A book that's this thick and it's about this size. And it says NASCAR rule book on the outside. And you open it up and all the pages are blank. Absolutely nothing in the book. So it's kind of one of those things you can. Every time I get to do something competitive, I always say, I want to see the rules, because there's ways that you can kind of bend and twist. And if they're not specific enough, you can twist the rules. But NASCAR's gotten to where they've gotten down all of these stipulations to the rules. And that's what happens. The further a sport evolves, the thicker the book gets and the more rules that get added to. And Chad says, rule makers, not rule breakers. And creative cheating, Steve Baker says. And River Rat, single lug takes away from it being stock. It does. It's going to be different. Definitely different for that. And it also takes away quite a bit of the skill. I mean, they still got to be fast. They got to be in shape. But the bottom line is most tracks, they're going to have to wait on them to get the fuel in the car. And that's going to take less time now than it does to hit that one lug nut, I believe. So let's see. Jock Flacco. Yes, that's it, Chad. Jock Flacco. That was the monkey's name. Yes. Jana says, I'm not sure if anyone saw the baby reveal by Dale Jr. to Amy. It's baby. So is that the one I mentioned earlier about them, the pink shoes and such? Get out and support driver sponsors and buy American. That's right, Terry. Yep. Tracy says, it's all politics, Steve Baker. All right. What's up, Super Jason? Good to see you on here. Yep. I did mention that earlier, but we were talking about the baby reveal. So I guess he's going to have two girls. And I was asking, I wonder if he's going to have a future NASCAR driver like Kelly. Well, she didn't make it to the NASCAR level. I remember seeing her race out at Concord Speedway back in 1990. Dale Jr. was leading his first lap there. I kept my little ticket, my ticket stub, and Kelly was right behind him. They probably had some pretty good equipment too. Scott says Jocko Flacco was the monkey name. He was trained to flip off the other drivers. There you go. I should do a video on that because it's been years since I heard that story, but I did remember it. Tracy says, haha, was that a question in your board game, Scott? Because Scott has his board game. And, creative racing. Junior's niece does, go-karts in Mooresville. Yes, she does. She is, her dad was married to Kelly, and her dad was, goodness gracious alive. I'm starting to lose my memory. Because I know his sister, her dad used to be our engine builder up at Bill Davis Racing. I'll think of it as soon as I'm not thinking about it. You get what I'm saying? Yep, pretty much. All right, so we're talking about Kyle Larson. All right, so a podium finish for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the virtual IndyCar Challenge at Michigan. This was his first start in the series, and he finished third. Yep, Jimmy Elledge. That's it. Elledge is right, and that's thanks Chad and Terry Quinn. Or Chad said Elledge, right, and then Terry says Jimmy. So yeah, and then their son was Jimmy Elledge, and their dad was. That's where I'm losing my mind, like I said. So they're talking about Kyle Larson. He's suspended from the iRacing, and he's on probation, I guess, for NASCAR. But his contract with Ganassi was to expire at the end of the 2020 season anyway. Chip Ganassi, he had suspended Larson, and he fired him the next day. And he must attend sensitivity classes directed by NASCAR. So what do y'all think about Kyle Larson going to Stewart-Haas Racing? I think it'd be great for the Fords. Yeah, Carson Elledge's Jimmy Elledge's daughter and Kelly's daughter. I used to go when I was at the gym at Jet down in Mooresville. Her aunt worked. Her aunt was one of the trainers there, and she worked there too. So, but Carson worked at the Randy's Barbecue in Troutman. Also, but now she started racing in the little go-karts over there at Millbridge, where I used to race. Yeah, so Bowyer's contract is up this season. Could be the thing next season. Yes, I'm kind of seeing that could be a great possibility that Kyle Larson fills in or slides in that spot of Clint Bowyer. So that remains to be seen, but that's probably what's going to happen. Because even before losing his ride, his contract with expiring, people were saying he was suspended 2 races and had to take a sensitivity course. Connor Daly was making his way on the NASCAR ladder when a video surfaced of his dad using a racial slur in 1980. Lots of sensitivities out there. You know, that stuff doesn't bother me. I mean, I just figured it really doesn't affect me. So Tom says, I'm all for SHR, and Carson is in the Indy. She goes to college in Indy. Okay, so she ended up going to college up in Indy. Or she was until this virus came along. Yeah, of course. So, all right. So in the race, we're talking about some of the things that's been going on. We were talking about earlier how the drivers seem to be like pinned up and they're getting out their aggressions or whatever's going on. But Bubba Wallace lost his actual sponsorship on the 43 car with Blue Emu after he was wrecked by Clint Bowyer and went into a rage and quit the race at Bristol during the iRacing event. And William Byron, he didn't do anything, I don't think. All right, so let's see. Mike Wallace will drive the Xfinity Indy Road Course for JD Motorsports. The sponsor will be named at a later date. William Byron wins the iRacing at Richmond as he held off Timmy Hill for the second time. This is Byron's second win and Timmy Hill's 4th consecutive top 3. So this is the iRace. How do y'all feel about the iRacing thing? I didn't get to watch this last one, and I would watch the Tracy says, off the subject, but a big shout out to one of my drivers today for making the local news for his thoughtfulness to one of his customers that's been out of work and lost her doggy. He left a note and money. Very nice. He works at the UPS, United Parcel Services. Steve says he'll be back. If you can do drugs and come back, and you can say bad words and come back. Hey, I'm sure he'll be back after he does the sensitivity training. I mean, look at all the stuff that Tony Stewart went through. You know, he had to go through his he was doing a lot of things, and he had to go through, what was that called? It was aggressive. When you lose your temper, he had to go through that where you don't lose your temper anymore. So, all right, low battery, I felt. Adios, everyone. What's up? All right, Chad, we'll see you later, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. You can go back and watch this and comment if you would. And that goes to all of you, too. Please, when you're done watching this, come back on and comment and ask questions or make comments about the video, whatever. And so, yeah, Mike Wallace, I've liked Mike since 94, 95. Terry says, Scott says, if Smithfield doesn't come back, Eric Almirola will be out. You never know because of the COVID. Well, the rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor, but it's true. There was like 300 and something employees over at the Smithfield that had that. So I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, Kyle Larson can fill that seat. That's for sure. Anger management. That's it, Terry. Just and Tracy and River Rat and Tom. I told y'all and Scott. Anger management. Yes. Oh my goodness. I didn't even have radio today, so there's no reason for my brain to be drained, but it's probably because I have been doing a lot of stuff on the computer today. A lot of working on videos and trying to catch up. Tracy needs anger management. Isn't she mean, Tom? I'll tell you what. Oh, bless her heart. Okay. So I got a little cold beer, warm beer from that race. William Byron, he is his first one to win in more than one race. So he would have 3 wins already were it not for a bump and run by Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill has 4 of the top 3 finishes. All right. So Kyle Busch got his first top 5 and quickly learning the ropes of iRacing. And the warm beer, Christopher Bell didn't get a good start in the real world of NASCAR racing with 4 finishes, no better than 21st. Now he is in virtual racing, and his bad luck seems to be continuing as he has finished 4 finishes, no better than 12th, in spite of him being involved in iRacing for a number of years. All right, so it sounds like the drivers are ready to get back to the real world racing. As we mentioned, Daniel Suarez was the first to be disqualified for intentionally wrecking Ty Dillon at Texas. Then Bubba got into trouble when he went into a rage and quit at Bristol after being wrecked by Clint Boyer. That cost him his actual sponsor, Blue Emu. Then Kyle Larson lost his ride, sponsors, manufacturing backing, taking a sensitivity class after using the racial slur. Now Matt DiBenedetto was removed from Richmond race for admitting he paid back a driver. Yes. That is the end of that. Bumping other drivers, which he did very regularly. And I was not an Earnhardt fan back in the day. But when he got out of the car, he was like, what are you talking about? That was racing. And you know what? That's what the other drivers a lot of times would say too, because they knew if they didn't say that, they were going to get a hard time. So, yeah, we miss Earnhardt as far as he was kind of like the police of the racing. But you know what? They also knew that that's racing. Tom Tracy says, "Hardy hard, Tom. You know just how badly David really has it." Yes. All right. Paul says, "Warm beer, Bowman and Priest." I may actually have that down for them. I just kind of skipped over some of the. No, I had Ryan Priest. I had Matt DiBenedetto and Ryan Priest warm beers. They had numerous run-ins with each other after admitting he paid Priest back, DiBenedetto was removed from the race by iRacing. So how's things down in Port St. Lucie there, Paul? I believe that's where you're at. Hot beer for Ryan Priest, yes. Rubbing is racing, Tracy says. You got that right. So I got a little bit of a history bio. I might just run through this a little quick, but I'm going to do this is one of the ones that I'll also do a video about because I love the history of NASCAR, as I mentioned. But you've all heard of Red Farmer. Charles Lawrence Red Farmer. His date of birth was October the 15th. But as for the year, it is disputed between 1928 and 1932. Born in Nashville, Tennessee. But he considers Hueytown, Alabama as his home. He was nicknamed the Ageless Wonder. But member of the original Alabama gang, along with Bobby and Donnie Ellison back in the 60s, they ran 106 races in 1 year and pulled cars on an open trailer behind a pickup. Yes, so look forward to that video that I'm going to do about him. That'll be coming up. Paul says it's nice in Port St. Lucie. Scott says warm beer for Kyle Larson. You lost your multiple $1 million job on your day off. I should do a meme from that from that movie Friday. You got fired on your day off. Or you lost your job on your day off. Oh my goodness. Yeah, right now a lot of people need anger management. The whole COVID-19 and the pandemic. I'm not saying it is a positive, but if you're down and out, let's say you lost your job, you don't have anything to do, turn it into a positive. Think, okay, what can I do to increase? Okay, what can I do to not have to depend on anyone else for my income for the rest of my life? Think about it. One of the ways that I got out of NASCAR was I started my own business. And I know it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, because what I did was I would leave work and I would go work. I would bring my work to work, and at lunchtime, I would go and mow yards at lunch or go mow yards right after work. And I was always advertising to get more yards, and I built up my business that way. And when it got to the point where I could just walk away from NASCAR, because that's just kind of what I wanted to do, I was just wanted to be around more for my parents, and then I was just tired of all the different things going on in NASCAR and how the changes were happening. And so I've kind of paved my way to not have to depend on someone else for my well-being, my income. So that, I'm just giving an example of things you can do to turn it into a positive. So Steve said, yeah, you got knocked out. That's from the movie Friday. That's some good stuff right there. Yes. All right. So it's a right now, lots of people need anger management. Yes. It's Steve says it's a sim game. Let them beat and bang. Heck, the pace truck ran over everyone. All right. Janice says, meaning with everyone being self-quarantine. Yeah. When you're sitting around and you're not able to get out and associate with people and all that kind of stuff, it does make a difference. Where one of the things, solitary confinement in a prison, they say is like the harshest form of punishment, because you're not able to, we're made to communicate with other people. So Scott says, cold beer to my beautiful wife, Janet, for putting up with me and all of my goof ups. Scott, you don't goof up, do you really? I just don't see you being a goof up. But that's good. I see you getting some nice brownie points with that comment. Steve Baker says, love it, Scott. All right. Do y'all have any questions? Anything you'd like to comment on? Because I'm just about to wrap it up here. But I appreciate everybody tuning in, because it has actually been an hour. This time has really flown. But thanks, everybody, so much for tuning in. Check out DHammiam.com. I'm putting on lots of things on there, and NASCAR Country on the Facebooks. So, and we will see y'all next Monday. If you got any ideas, come back on the video. Tell me what you want to talk about. I'm sure there'll be a few things coming up in the NASCAR world. Some updates on how the whole virus thing is going to work out with when the races are going to start back for sure, and all that good stuff. So Janice says, I'm ready to go snorkel the springs. Yes, I want to do that. Absolutely want to go do the snorkeling in the springs. I've never been to a spring. We started to go to one on the way back from Destin, and then I made a wrong turn and we ended up 10 miles the other direction. And I said, well, I guess we're not going to go to that spring. I know River Rat would love to bring his canoes down to the springs. Yes, Scott, you're welcome for that grass. I didn't realize that the backyard, last year whenever I was mowing for you there, I just mowed the front. So I didn't really think to go. I got her did, and I got the edge down the driveways, and I got everything blown off because it had all these little curly green things everywhere around the tiki bar. And I was like, that's a shame. I blew all that stuff off. So it's gone. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Paul, Scott, River Rat, Steve Baker, Rachel, Terry. Let's see who else we have on here still. Some of the people I can't see, and I apologize that I can't see if you're on here, but thanks for tuning in, and give us a like if you'd like. And we will see you next Monday at 7:30. So y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next time.